Hi, I'm here with Justan Parker, a representative of Black Lives Matter to Lehigh Valley and an NCC student. What is your major at NCC, Justin?
Business administration.
And what year are you in?
I am currently a sophomore. It's my second year in school as an adult student.
Great. So, how did you feel about the actions that took place this week in response to the Allentown police use of force incident, in comparison to previous marches for the Black Lives Matter movement? Now that something that happened in our town is being protested, did you notice a different sort of emotion or a different vibe at those rallies and protests?
I definitely noticed a different emotion and vibe, and most especially with the most recent one from the incidents that happened this past Saturday. Uh, I think it woke a lot of people up that this could happen in their backyards and on their streets in front of a hospital here in Allentown. It's always different, I feel, when you're protesting and it doesn't happen around you or you hear it on the news. But then when the news is happening in your own backyard, and this is what the city and town that you have to live in, then at that point it's like we have to come to the streets and the emotions are there.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a little more personal anger too. So I've been to several protests in the area in Bethlehem and Hanover Township and Nazareth, but my personal feeling at the events in Allentown was more anger. You could kind of feel it,
Yes.
and
Yep.
some of the specifically the slogans, the chants that were being said. And I know that there were critics of people saying, "Oh, like how dare they say F the police?" and these different. What would you respond to those critics who take offense to the language that's used?
My response really would be there's no right or wrong way to protest. You can't really put rules or a rule book on someone's feelings and their emotion and their anger, especially if they're black or brown. I mean, this is frustration pent up, not only from us, but from our elders and from our ancestors in the ugly history of this country. So I have not personally said, F the police, but will I not work with someone or, have their opinion validated because they do? Absolutely not. There is no right or wrong way, and if anything, we want to validate people's feelings and emotions with regards to that, and not silence or censor them.
Yeah, yeah. It just seems like the All Lives Matter crowd, the anti BLM crowd, they always just look for a little thing to latch on to, and
Hmm.
then that's their reason to dismiss the whole movement.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How then would you respond to critics of the Black Lives Matter movement in general? Well, let's call them what they are. It's critics of the Black Lives Matter movement. How would you respond to racists who are questioning
Yeah,
your
that's
movement?
that's yeah, that's really what it is. I would say that with regards to our critics, a lot of them being racist, um, we try to educate because that's where the ignorance lies, right? Because they don't know or they're not in the know. We try to educate in on our platforms because when we go and do a protest or we go support a protest and there are counter protests there, that's not really a good time for us to try to communicate back and forth with them because they're only listening to respond. But on platforms like this or platforms on our social media pages or when we do speak, we definitely try to educate. And so that way, we can inform them of what our stance is. And a lot of times, they don't want to admit or they're surprised that we actually agree on more than what we disagree on, but they don't want to admit it.
Yeah. What are some of those things that you feel like you would agree on?
That there needs to be more proper police training, that funding needs to go to um, schools, teachers. We shouldn't be paying, putting more funding into police departments than we should be putting into our teachers or our community or our neighbors, our children. I think that they would definitely agree with that. And then accountability, whether they're black, brown, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever nationality or creed, uh, police excessive use of force in any police department should be made to hold. There should be accountability there, and if there's not, then they're going to continue to keep abusing this power and killing us.
From your perspective, why do you think that the police do receive the lion's share of funding and not other programs that you suggested?
I believe because that's been the way it's been for a long time. With city budgets, and they feel that, for protection or for community development wise, we need to put more funding into the police. More recently in Allentown, we were out there at the city council meeting 2 days ago because $50,000 of a grant was earmarked for community and economic development. And the city planned on providing that $50,000 grant to the Allentown Police Department for uniforms and equipment. And it's just that kind of mind frame and thinking of community and economic development to go towards the police department is just ridiculous. So we have to really unlearn and get people in office that are going to represent us, so that way we can unlearn the status quo all this time and really get some effective policies and practices that are going to help our neighborhoods and communities.
So have those funds already been allocated, or is your movement pushing to have those funds spent elsewhere?
Yeah, so those funds have not been allocated as of yet. The comments from council members was that they'd either have to use it or lose it, in a sense. And to be honest with you, if they're not able, so they're the elected officials, right? If they're not able to find a way to use this to boost up community and economic development, then they should not use the money. There is no reason that funding should be going. $38,000, I believe, is on police uniforms, and the additional amount, I think it was like 12,000, was to go towards equipment for police. And so, at a time right now where clearly they're abusing their use of force policy, we don't need more equipment to the police officers. We need that money to the community.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of equipment exactly they plan on buying.
I'm curious on that as well. Hopefully something for body cams, because they're not turning them on.
Yeah, it's interesting that out of that 50,000, so much of it would be going towards uniforms, like new shirts and pants,
Yeah,
things like that. Interesting.
especially at a time right now in the city where with COVID-19, people are out of jobs. I'm pretty sure that the city council can find more useful means for that money.
We'll take a quick break from our interview with Justin to show the footage of what happened for any viewers who might not have seen it yet. This is outside of St. Luke's Hospital in Allentown. And this took place on the evening of Saturday, July 11th. The original video that was posted on social media by a bystander was about 30 seconds long. A few days later, the police released this surveillance footage, the full length of which was about 9 minutes. We'll just play you about a minute here. The rest of the footage can be seen here on the Commuter website, and I'll post a link down below. The person who recorded the video that was originally posted to social media is in this car here. So the 30-second video that everyone saw begins at about this point. And here's where we see the officer place his knee into the back of the man's neck. Here you see the nurse notice that they're being filmed. She intervenes, stands in between them, and here she covers up her name tag and orders the person to drive away.
When that 26-second video first came out, and then the police released the 9-minute footage,
Mm-hmm.
how did your opinion of what happened, was it any different after seeing the full footage?
I think if anything, it gave our opinion a more stronger stance. The the press release that came out from the police department kind of made it seem that the story would be shown in a different light once this surveillance footage was provided, and I don't think that it really helped their case at all. If anything, we got to see more of a gross abuse of power, more of an excessive use of power, and really not only just by the Allentown Police Department, but a lack of care from the nurses from St. Luke's as well, who seemed to be more concerned with blocking passerbys from recording than making sure that a possible patient was taken care of and cared for.
Yeah, that part of the video was strange because the nurse actually had no authority in directing traffic
At all. But she placed herself out in the street there to do that and kind of block view.
If anything, it kind of came off the police just didn't know what to do in that situation.
This is a great example of why we asked to defund the police and reallocate those funds, because in an instance like this would have been a great opportunity for a social worker or a mental health advocate to come out and assist. If you seen, I mean, I know you've seen the video, but if you notice in the video, there's a point where he sees the cops walking up to him and they're putting on the gloves, and he knows that something's about to happen, and he puts his hands out and he's kind of like, hey, hold on, please just give me some time. Like, there's no audio, but you can just imagine, from what we see in the video, he's trying to plead with these officers, and he needs help and he knows what's coming. And unfortunately, we saw the rest of what happened in that video.
Yeah, and you said that I read on Facebook that that gentleman then present at one of the protests, one of the rallies?
Yeah, so he was present. We were meeting outside of City Hall because the meeting was closed off, so we were doing a live feed from there, and he showed up because they knew that we were at City Hall, and I was there with another person of our collective, Rodney Bush, and I turn around and I see him walk up the stairs, and he's standing next to Rodney, and he's like, "You're the Black Lives Matter guy," and I'm like, "You're that guy," and it was just a moment of there. It was just like we just wanted to make sure he was okay, and we just wanted to make sure that he was okay, even though he's not. But he was there.
How is he doing? You say not okay?
He's not doing okay. He did express to us, that he has a lot of anxiety behind this, a lot of fear of the police, a lot of fear of people in general, because he was at a hospital. So I mean, even when you think of like a nurse, he doesn't feel that he could be helped or by anybody at a hospital, really. He's not homeless, but there is some funding and food supplies and stuff like that we're trying to get together for him to help out.
Is there like a GoFundMe or a link or something that you'd like to share?
There is a GoFundMe page that has been set up. We're sharing it on our Facebook page and our website, blmlehighvalley.org, but that will be going live probably within the next 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. So by the time this episode drops, people will be
Yes.
able to participate in that.
Absolutely, yes.
Great. Yeah, because that was kind of as all this is going on, and we're trying to find the identity of the officers involved, which as of yet has not been released.
Has not been released. The victim's name has been released, and his age and his any prior records, but the names of the officers who are public servants and still on the force out there in this neighborhood have not been released.
Yeah, has there been a reason given as to why those names weren't released?
There has not been. A lot of the demands that we're asking for, one of them being for the DA to refer this to the Attorney General's office so it could be a true external investigation, have not been met. But there's been no reason as to why these officers' names have not been released yet.
Yeah. And I saw Bob Casey has spoken out and called it an egregious use of force.
Yes,
So
he has.
it's good to see that other officials are starting to speak up about what we've all now seen and know.
Yeah, our group spoke with Senator Casey directly and his team the day that the Justice and Policing Act, I believe, he spoke on or was on the floor. So he's wants to be on the right side of justice and history here with regards to that. We definitely need to see our politicians really put their money where their mouth is and their time and action with regards to that.
Yeah. And so what other actions does your organization have planned for the coming weeks?
So there's another city council meeting coming up. I don't have the exact date on the top of my head. All information will be on our Black Lives Matter page, but we will be following up there as well to ensure that the $50,000 isn't allocated to police equipment and uniforms. But we're also pushing out through our pages and through our collectives pages, still our demands that we're asking for. We're reaching out to the Attorney General, we reached out to the Governor, we've continued to reach out to the Mayor and the Chief of Police, and we will still continue to speak out against that. But there will be more protests planned, especially in the event that we do not receive a favorable response from the District Attorney's Office with regards to possibly no charges being filed in this case against the officers.
Now, there are certainly people who would like to be involved in the movement, but have concerns about being out during the pandemic. What are your suggestions for those people and how they can be proactive?
Well, we can always definitely use more feet on the ground and more feet online. If you go to blmlehighvalley.org and shoot us a message, our team will be reaching out to you with regards to how you can assist. So we had our most recent success with Lehigh Valley Stands Up was our email campaign that we had. So there were 3 hours of public general comments that were read before the city council meeting could even kick off this past week. So just because you can't get out physically, there's a lot that you can do online by emailing our city council members, by emailing our mayor, chief of police. We will be writing contact information as well on our page to really get that assistance online. It makes a difference.
Is there anything you'd like to add before we sign off?
I feel like you really pretty much touched on everything. We're going to continue to keep applying the pressure. Our group, along with a collective of other groups out here in the Lehigh Valley, because this isn't just an Allentown issue; it's a Lehigh Valley issue, and we want to ensure that all of our residents are protected. And the use of force policy, isn't just for Black and Brown people. These are for all of the residents of Allentown, and also if you're not a resident of Allentown, if you're visiting from Bethlehem or Easton. These are the policies that can affect you if you ever come into contact with the police. So this is for white people. This is for all types of people as well. And we just need to ensure that that there's accountability and that that this is fixed for going forward.
Great. Well, thanks so much for your time, Justin.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.